Hey everyone, welcome to Teslanomics Live. I'm your host, Ben Sullins, and I'm here to break down the biggest tech news, Tesla tech news from the previous week, and share with you some other cool things I have going on, and just give you guys some updates and have a discussion about some of these things that are really changing our world. Now, if you're watching this after the live stream, which happens every Monday at noon, then it may be a bit longer than my normal videos, but I will put in a comment down below. I'll pin it there, all the different segments with the timestamp so you can jump to that specific story that you may be interested in. And one thing I like to do on this show is I like to introduce a couple segments, my long and my short. The long is the thing that I'm betting on, that I'm in favor of, and the short is the thing that I'm betting against, the thing I don't like, whether it be something Tesla's doing or something else that's related to Tesla that's happening. So I want to get into those, but first I want to talk just a little bit about the referral program. And I want to thank all of you for helping me grow this and share this. We are currently up to 26%. I don't know if it'll focus for me. Towards a next-gen Roadster, which would be unreal. That's the current level of the referral program for us that have achieved that. And that'll be, I think I need 38 more referrals or something insane like that. But anyways, thank you for everyone else out there helping spread that message, because it gets me invites to cool things like the Tesla Semi unveil coming up, of which I can then share those stories with you. If you don't recall, I've got to go to the Model 3 handover event, and I did a vlog about that, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. So share this code, or if you yourself are looking to buy a Model S or X, you can use it to get $1,000 off, and plus free supercharging. It used to be very limited, but now they've opened it up, so you should be able to get one even if it's a little bit down the road. So you can learn more there at teslanomics.co/TD. So that's first and foremost. Next, I want to talk about my long. And the long here, let me pull up my actual browser. There it is. The long is this new bill in California where I and 50% of all Tesla owners live, that would potentially increase the incentives for an electric vehicle, the state incentives, up to $10,000 or more per vehicle. Now, I'll read a little bit from the LA Times article here. This is a Bill AB 1184 and has been proposed by Assemblymember Ting in February of 2017, and it is now scheduled for a vote on September 15th of 2017. Now, the existing law, and I'm reading from the bill text here, the existing law establishes the Air Quality Improvement Program that is administered by the State Air Resources Board for the purposes of funding projects related to, among other things, the reduction of criteria air pollutants and the improvement of air quality. Pursuant to its existing statutory authority, the State Board has established the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project as a part of the Air Quality Improvement Program to promote the production of zero-emission vehicles by providing rebates for the purchase of new zero-emission vehicles. The bill directs that the State Air Resources Board to devise a formula for car rebates. A single rebate amount would be set that would account for the difference in price between a compact electric car and traditionally powered compact car, according to the bill. So that second part there is what the LA Times was reporting. The bill has actually been updated a little bit to not specify an electric car, but a zero-emissions vehicle. So right now, of course, the most popular ones are the electric cars, but in theory, something like a hydrogen car could also qualify for that. So that's they're tweaking the verbiage a little bit to make it more encompassing. Sponsor Phil Ting, who's a Democrat from San Francisco, has suggested a Chevy Bolt EV could be compared against the best-selling compact in California, which right now is the Honda Civic. That could mean a rebate of $8,000 to $10,000 or more. Senator Steve Bradford, who's also a Democrat, an Appropriations Committee member, said during a hearing Friday morning that he wants to include language that ensures lower-income people can participate in any rebate plan. Evidence, he said, is clear that the majority of these incentives go to people who can very much afford them on their own. Ting told the Times last week, the LA Times that is, that a lid could be put on the sticker price of a qualifying car, perhaps $50,000. So, what that means for us in California and for other folks that are maybe coming to California or whatever, that are looking to buy a zero emissions vehicle like a Tesla Model 3, is that you could potentially get $7,500 federal rebate, which is from the IRS, the federal government, not the state government, then you can get up to $10,000 from the state government, from California, basically cutting the price of a $35,000 Model 3 in half. Now, there's a couple caveats, and the timing of those things have to work out, but literally thousands of people in California that will work out for. There's a ton of people that, because in California is where Teslas are made, we're going to be the first ones here to get them. Whether or not you're a Tesla owner doesn't really appear to have that much of a difference. But with that in mind, and Tesla likely pushing out their 200,000th car delivery, which is when the federal credit starts to phase out, that not happening until January of 2018. That means that up until Q3 of next year, every car that they make or that a person takes delivery of will get the full credit. And hopefully by then, these credits could also be in place, making the Model 3 by far the best car for your dollar. And that is huge, great news. And so I wanted to share all that with you. I also want to read a little bit more about the bill, and then I want to talk about something else I started around this. So the bill also reads that incentives for zero-emission vehicles will further the following goals: 1 million zero-emission vehicles by 2022, and establishing a self-sustaining market, as stated in the Charge Ahead California initiative, as part of 5 of Division 26 of the Health and Safety Code. So they're talking 1 million zero-emission vehicles by 2022 in California alone. Governor Jerry Brown of California, he has a target of 1.5 million zero-emission vehicles by 2025, and he also has made recent public statements to set a further ambitious target of 5 million zero-emission vehicles by 2030 to be on track to achieve 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in the state by 2050. So all of these things are hugely ambitious goals in a state that produces a ton of CO2 because we have so many large companies and so many people in this state. But all of these things, I think, are quite necessary. Now, there is some criticism. I think there are 2 Republicans that voted against this. So it's moving ahead into a full vote pretty soon. And I created a little partition here. I'm so in the data world right now. Petition, excuse me, to help you sign a petition to try to get the state assembly to do that. So that we want the state assembly to sign this, and we want them to pass this law, because it really, in my mind, and I think a lot of people would agree, that it creates a level playing field for Tesla and for other companies that make electric cars. So if you are a California resident, go to teslanomics.co/AB1184, sign the petition. Also, you can easily find your local assembly representative by searching. I just Googled it, and there was a map, and took 5 seconds. You can go find who they are and contact them. Now, I will say that the guys at Now You Know, Zach and Jesse, who do a great job, they have an in-depth video that they just released today about this, and I would recommend you go watch that. They go into much more detail than I'm going to go into right now. But I will put a link to that in the description here after this is over. So that is my long. I think this could be a big game changer for the EV market and help Californians like myself, put our money down and really make a difference in the amount of emissions that we're generating from the state. So if you are a resident, please join us and go sign that bill there at teslanomics.co. That just redirects you over to the moveon.org petition. So I appreciate that. And next, what I want to talk about is something that is really interesting to me, because this is a local company, a LA-based company, and they have a car they affectionately named E-Hawk, kind of like Kitty Hawk, which the Wright brothers did. So anyways, and they just hit 300,000 miles on that car. Now, you may be wondering how that's possible. Well, Tess Loop, what they are, and you know what? I'll read the press release for them, and then I'll talk about my experience. So, their press release reads, Tesla Model S hits 300,000 miles with less than $11,000 in maintenance costs. Car 2.0 mobility service, Tess Loop, leverages economics of Tesla's electric platform. LA-based Tess Loop, a city-to-city mobility service that utilizes Tesla vehicles, has reached the milestone of 300,000 miles, that's 482,000 kilometers, on its first car, a Tesla Model S, which launched the service in 2015. The vehicle, affectionately named E-Hawk, hit the 300,000 milestone on Tuesday, August 29th, Tess Loop's fleet, which other than this car is comprised of exclusively Tesla Model X vehicles, travel as much as 17,000 miles per car each month. During the first 300,000 miles, the total combined maintenance and fuel costs of the Tesla Model S were $10,492, with the total of 12 days in the shop. Of these costs, $6,900 was scheduled maintenance and $3,500 was headlight damage due to driving through deep water. Had this been a Mercedes S-Class, the scheduled routine maintenance and fuel would have been $86,000, $52,000 in maintenance and $36,000 in fuel, give or take, depending on gas rates, etc., with 112 days of servicing. For a Lincoln Town Car, $70,000, $28,000 in maintenance, and $42,000 in fuel. Again, depending on fuel costs and how they fluctuate, with around 100 days of servicing. Over the last 2 years, we have seen that the electric supercharged vehicles can be deployed at utilization levels unheard of with gas vehicles, and while saving over $60,000 on fuel and maintenance is a substantial economic win, we feel the bigger win is that the car is ready for another 900,000 miles over the next 6 years under its current warranty. A gas car with 300,000 miles would be the near end of its useful lifespan. This means that the economics for mobility services on electric is more attractive than non-electric vehicles by a multiple. And when combined with the autonomous driving features, the economic advantages in cost per mile will create unprecedented disruption in the overall automotive industry. So that's their statement, of course, which they say those things because they want them to come true. I've ridden in a Tess Loop. It was my first time riding in a Model X and my first time actually riding with autopilot because I have an older one that doesn't have it. And that for me was pretty cool. So going from LA to San Diego is a common thing. Lots of people, I have lots of friends in LA. There's lots of events up there. Lots of people in LA want to come to San Diego for different events that happen, as well as just get away from the LA traffic and that stuff for a while and kind of be, we have a lot of more peaceful type beaches around here and things like that. So whatever the reason may be, this has to be about the best way to do it because you don't have to drive. They hook you up with snacks and Wi-Fi, and they even give you headphones if you want them, so you can just be kind of like zoned out on your laptop or watching a movie or sleeping, frankly. And during the time, the price of it is really competitive. So if you wanted to take, let's say, a Lyft or Uber from here to there, I priced it out. It was going to be north of $200, which is nuts. You could take a bus, which is probably the cheapest route, but definitely not the most comfortable, around $20. Or you could take a train, which last time I took it, I think it was around $45, almost $50. So the Tess Loop, depending on which one you get and the time of day, it's between $50 and $60 from my experience. And so, yeah, I mean, it's on par with the same price as a train, but infinitely better and much, much faster. So the only caveat there is that they have specific drop-off and pickup points. So if you're somewhere else, you'll have to find transportation from wherever those are. So, but still, you're going to save money and have a much better trip, far better than driving yourself. And in my experience, they were really accommodating. And for the record, this me talking about this is not a paid promotion or anything like that. I need to say that so people don't get all up in arms. I am hoping to partner with them on some things, but this right here is more about the news that they have a car that hit 300,000 miles. And of course, the maintenance costs and all that is the story I've been saying for a long time. It's one of the big benefits. So go check them out if you're in the Southern California area, whether or not you're just traveling here. I do highly recommend their service, and tell them I sent you. I'm sure, that'll maybe get you a free snack or something. Okay, so next I want to talk about something that happened this past weekend, I guess it was, and it was pretty. I don't even know how to describe this. So this truck manufacturer, trucking company, Cummins, made this urban hauler electric concept vehicle, and I'll just go to the full screen here, shot of it. And it's pretty interesting. So I'll read a little bit from the Green Car Report's post here. And they say that the traditional diesel engine maker debuted its urban hauler tractor, a Class 7 semi-truck with 44,000-pound payload. Notably, the company called the semi-truck a concept that previews a production truck. And here's the gotcha. They believe could arrive at the end of this decade. So still a few years out, but that's actually a lot quicker than you may think. If not the truck itself, okay, getting worse, Cummins is confident that powertrain will be ready for production by that time. The company promises 100 miles of range. Okay, still not good. That figure is well below what Tesla's electric semi-truck is rumored to offer. Tesla's electric semi will reportedly have a 200 to 300 mile range. Okay, so this is cool, right? I'm for this. I think it's great that this is happening. I'm kind of, I don't know, I feel like they rushed it maybe because a lot of these numbers aren't that impressive. And I'm not sure if I like the laying of the camera on the ground shot here. But anyways, yeah, so go check this out. It's pretty cool. And they posted a video, which I thought was kind of funny because it's like a cell phone video. And the majority of it, it's going in reverse. So I was kind of thought, does it go forward? I don't know. But this is cool. And I love that this is happening. And there are, serious trucking companies getting into this. So I'm a fan. I'm excited about this, even though I'm underwhelmed by this specific model here. Now, and if you're with Cummins and you want to clarify any of what I just said, please contact me. I would love to have a conversation about this. This was kind of a surprise, and it'd be great to know more because there haven't been a lot of details shared quite yet. I am going to the Tesla Semi Unveil later this month, and so I'm excited about that. And of course, we'll see all the details, and I'll cover all those here at that time. Okay, so next, I want to talk about my short. And my short is the U.S. Labor Board complaint against Tesla. So the National Labor Relations Board filed a complaint on Thursday against Tesla, saying the company required workers to sign non-disclosure agreements that would prevent employees from discussing working conditions and safety at the Fremont plant. Tesla responded to the complaint, and I think it's maybe a little crass, but okay. Tesla said, as we approach Labor Day weekend, there's a certain irony in just how far the UAW has strayed from the original mission of the American labor movement. Faced with declining membership and overwhelming loss at the Nissan plant earlier this month, corruption charges that were recently leveled against union leaders who misused UAW funds, and a failure to gain traction with our employees, it's no surprise the union is feeling pressure to continue its publicity campaign against Tesla. So I'm never a fan of that tone. I think things should be a bit above the fray there, but I understand that they're legit in everything they're saying there. They're not lying about that stuff. Tesla further slammed the UAW for its role in trying to disrupt Tesla production process, alleging that members even went as far as visiting the homes of Tesla employees. For 7 years, the UAW has used every tool in its playbook. This is Tesla again. Misleading and outright false communications, unsolicited and unwelcomed visits to the homes of our employees, attempts to discredit publicly in the media, and now another tactic that has been used in every union campaign since the beginning of time: baseless ULP filings that are meant only to generate headlines. The NLRB has also established a court date in November to address the charges at hand. Tesla has largely denied all allegations that calls workers' safety at the Fremont plant into question. These allegations, which have been filed by the same contingent of union organizers who have been so outspoken with media, are entirely without merit, Tesla said in a statement. So this is my short. I'm not a fan of unions. I think that, I don't know, that there's so many other ways, and I understand the origins of them and why they existed originally and all those things. And I get it. I totally get that all of that is totally valid. But for this, I'm short on this because I think it's just more disruptions and distractions. And, if there are legitimate complaints, I hope Tesla will handle them. Every person I know that works there and the company culture that I understand that they have should take care of that. So anyways, that's my short for the week, and I hope that goes away soon. Okay, next we have some news about the production of the Model 3. And now this was from the Tesla show. They have a photo here. I'm not sure where they got it, but thank God for megapixels. It looks like they're up to VIN 200 on the production Model 3. So that would mean 50 in late July, 150 in August. Would, in theory, put them ahead of schedule if we knew exactly what their schedule was. And yeah, so there's a Reddit user here who posted this. And so the interesting thing here is I'm not quite sure if the VINs correlate exactly one-to-one with the number of cars that were produced. I know that we've talked about this before, but when I was in the Model 3 I got a test ride in, the VIN was a 306. And I know that wasn't the 306 one made. So I talking to a few other Tesla tubers about this. We were kind of going back and forth on whether or not this meant that they actually, produced 200, or if they have a different sequencing that means something different. But exciting stuff. The question I have is whether or not this will mean that they will or will not hit that 200,000th mark this year, which could be a disaster unless they had already hit it, because you don't want that to happen towards the end of a quarter. Specifically, the end of this year would be really bad. So interesting stuff, and we'll see more coming out of that very soon. All right, next we have friend of the show and also Tesla tuber, Tesla caster, I guess maybe, Ryan McCaffrey, who has a podcast called Ride the Lightning, and it's really great. He talks, Ryan's probably the most knowledgeable guy that when it comes to this stuff. Elon replied to a tweet of his just recently about smart air suspension, and I'm glad that we have this answer, because literally every week I get dozens of questions from you guys about whether or not it'll have smart air suspension, and here we go. So yes, we will. And in about 6 months or so, Elon says, linked to dual motor config. Now, there is a question whether or not that'll be packaged with dual motor config or whether or not it'll be sold separately. And those are all things that we'll learn in the upcoming future. So awesome stuff. And if you're curious about what that is, it kind of looks like this. And the idea is that you can, from within the car, raise and lower the car. Now, it's not as cool as you can do with like 64 Impala, in hydraulics. That's way cooler, but you can make it kind of more functional. Let's say you're going down a bumpy road, or where I go take guitar class, for example, there's a big hill or hump in the driveway that sometimes I bottom out on. So it'd be nice. And there you go. So if you live in an area where you have that kind of a terrain, this could be a big win for you. Now, hold on. I need some of my Tesla juice before we continue. The next thing I want to talk about, someone sent this to me on Twitter, and wow, I can't even explain how excited I am about this. A solar-assisted electric motorhome. Yeah. So this company here, it's God, I can't even. Okay. So here's the deal. So it's still in the works. And it's a German company, and they've installed 334 square feet of solar panels to generate electricity and help provide power to this vehicle's electric powertrain. The all-electric motorhome uses an 80 kilowatt-hour, 107 horsepower electric motor that could be paired to a few different battery options, according to the company. The highest possible range envisioned is 174 miles, though that's rated on a more generous new European driving cycle. A comparable EPA rating might be closer to 140 miles. Finishes and furniture are also trimmed in high-quality materials. There's a kitchen, bathroom, flat-screen TV, and sleeping quarters with privacy window panes. So I am so in love with this, and I know this looks like shit right now. It really looks bad. But on the inside, there you go. It looks beautiful, right? Definitely something that would be worth staying in. I just love the idea of essentially having a vehicle that I never will have to fill up. It is just completely self-sufficient. With give or take some things, like if it's cloudy out like it is now, it's super humid, that's why I'm sweating. Any of those things, yeah. So I love this idea, and thank you for sending it to me, because it really made my day when I saw it. And guys, if you want me to test this out, I don't know, hit me up. I would love to come out to Germany and drive this around and just see what it's like, because it is I do have sort of a fantasy about it. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about a federal judge who rules in favor of Tesla. And the big news here is that the lawmakers must surrender records of their communications with anti-Tesla lobbyists. Tesla entitled to documents that evidence the intent and coordination that took place behind the scenes while the legislature effectively gave franchise dealers a state-sponsored monopoly on car sales within Michigan, all while engineering the legislative process to steadfastly remove any public attention or scrutiny, which is a statement from Tesla's attorney at the time, John Birch. So this, I think, is going to be very telling, because a lot of us on the Tesla side of this have known that essentially states are, it's a very crony capitalism kind of thing, where people are trying to put in laws in place to protect their donators, the people that pay for their campaigns, which is not a good thing, right? That's the definition of corruption in government. And so here now, a federal judge agreed that the people who basically put this law in place preventing Tesla from selling cars in Michigan must now surrender their emails, which should be a matter of public record anyways, so that they can see what kind of level of corruption was actually happening. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg here, and that this story could be really big down the road, especially for upcoming elections in Michigan for all of those folks. So yeah, watch out for that. Next, we have some solar cell production that has begun in Buffalo, and I'm reading here from the Washington Post. They state by the end of this year, this is from JB Strobel, who's the VP of Technology, Chief Technology Officer, I forget. Sorry, JB, if I forgot exactly. By the end of this year, we will have the ramp up of solar roof modules started in a substantial way, Strobel told to the Associated Press Thursday. This is an interim milestone that we're pretty proud of. The Buffalo plant was originally begun by Silevo, a solar panel startup, on the site of an old steel mill. Solar panel maker Solar City bought them in 2014. Then Tesla acquired Solar City late last year. Solar City was run by the cousin of Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who sat on Solar City's board. There are all kinds of problems with this that had been reported in the media about legal troubles and people suing each other and that. So this is a huge step forward, and for those of us that potentially are ordering or looking to get a solar roof or any of the other solar products that they make or will be making, then then this is great news, because it means it's going to happen. And for those of us that are investors, this could become a significant part of the company's revenue stream. So there you go. Now, JB also said this factory and the opportunity to build solar modules and cells in the U.S. was a part of why this project made sense. And I love that. I love that we're turning an old closed down steel mill in Buffalo into something that's making renewables. It does prove yet again that you don't have to stick to those old ways in order to be successful economically in the future, that new technologies generate new jobs that are high paying and all of those things. So this is really great news, and I'm really excited about that. Okay. Lastly, before I get into your questions, and thank you to the 120 something of you that submitted questions prior to today, prior to the live stream on a holiday in the US. I want to share a fellow Tesla Tubers series called, I think it's called the Autonomous, first episode of Autonomous Driving Future. So this is Now You Know with Zach and Jesse, and I'm sure you guys know a lot about them. They have this video that they put out, which was the first episode in this series, Why Parking Lots Will Disappear, and it is incredibly well done. I'll play just a little bit of it here so you can get an idea of the production value in what these guys have done here. But I'm sure a lot of you guys watch their Tesla Time News and a lot of the other videos, but this one in particular stands out to me as some of the best work that any of the folks in the Tesla space have done. So I highly recommend that. I will put a link to it in the description down below, and I encourage you guys to go subscribe to their channel and watch everything they're doing, because they're really stepping it up, and this is really inspiring stuff. So go check that out. Next, let's do some Q&A. Before I get into that, I'll take another drink of my Tesla juice and read the first question here. And let me get it set up so I can change. There we go. Okay, so Paul asks, do you think the Tesla 3 will sell the air ride suspension separately or as a package with all-wheel drive? And I talked a little bit about this earlier. I don't know. I think it'll be separate because it's sold separately with the S, I believe. So I think it'll be separate. Yeah, that's my guess. Thanks for the question, Paul. Brian asks, do you think now that Tesla has gone with the two battery choices, the 75 and 100, that they will have a battery upgrade option in the future for existing owners? I don't think so. I think the cost to do that is kind of astronomical right now. Maybe in 10 years or so when the cost of batteries has come down significantly, but not for the foreseeable future. I don't think so. Rob asks, do you think the Tesla will eventually offer packages on the Model 3 like all of their other offerings? If so, would later reservation holders have more of an advantage to get a better car? So yes, and we know this for a fact. So essentially, right now, if you want, let's say, an all-wheel drive car or one with smart air suspension, you have to wait. But that does mean that they likely are going to add little features, or in some cases these are big features, to the car over time, and that if you wait longer, then you will essentially have more of them available to you. The big question, I think, is whether or not you care about some of those. Like all-wheel drive for me doesn't make a difference. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice, but I don't want to wait for that because it's not like I live in a snowy, cold climate where I really should have it, right? I live in a warm climate, so it doesn't make, now I know there's better traction control, etc., but it's those things that, how important is it to you? And so it's not, depending on when you want your car and how important that is, I think will dictate this, and that they will essentially continue to offer better hardware as time goes on. But as Elon has stated, if you want to wait to get the best Tesla, you'll be waiting forever because they're continually innovating and changing these cars. So thanks for the question. Richard asks, will the collision avoidance system on the Model S Hardware 2 apply brakes and or steering to avoid pedestrians or car? Does it make a difference if it's in cruise mode? So yeah, it should do all of those things. I don't think it's going to steer away. I haven't seen it do that ever, but it should brake automatically. And there's a video, I forget who did it, but somebody actually had his buddy walk down the street or on a bike and see if it would detect him and stop, and it did. But of course, there are so many things that still need to be perfected. None of it is 100%, right? We're talking about computers and technology and things, and yeah, it'll be a long time before it's perfect, but it should do most of that stuff now. Kevin asks, does Tesla have any current backup plans, or will they be shit out of luck if a hurricane hits and knocks out the power? So I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. It'd be pretty insane if a hurricane hit San Francisco, but I think what you're getting at is, how does this actually happen, or what happens in the case of a flood or something like that? And thankfully, the Tesla Power Walls are the answer. And so in theory, you could have your solar panels and your power wall, and they would be able to provide you power completely off grid for as long as, depending on how much you use and those kind of things. Usually most houses, 2 power walls would probably be enough to last several days. Without getting any new sun, and if you had solar, then you could fill them back up and you could essentially run forever, assuming you're not charging multiple EVs, which really drains on the power. So yeah, I mean, I guess the answer is yes, they have a good backup plan. Unless you're talking about a hurricane hitting San Francisco, in which case we have all kinds of other things to consider. Thanks for the question, though. Macha asks about the kids' Tesla car, the price, where to buy, charging requirements. They look adorable. They are adorable. And you can get them at, I believe it's tesla.radioflyer.com. If you just Google Tesla Radio Flyer or Tesla Kids Radio Flyer, you'll get that. I think they're about $500. And yeah, and they come with like a little mini charger. It comes with a big battery. I haven't charged it, even once since we got it a few weeks ago, although my son is too small to actually drive it. So it just kind of sits there, and every now and then he hops in and honks the horn. So yeah, go check it out at the Radio Flyer site. Mel asks, I ordered my Model 3 on 3/31/16 and feel the pressure being put on to buy a Model S. I've heard a lot about people getting emails for this. When do you think Tesla will let me touch, feel, and drive a Model 3 in Costa Mesa, which is in Southern California? So I've heard that as early as October, we may see Model 3s in the stores and potentially test drivable. So I would say soon, depending on when your delivery is potentially happening. You may be able to see one before then. Elon, I believe, did say Q3, which is quickly ending. But probably within October, November timeframe, we'll see them in the stores is my best guess. Thanks for the question. Jeffrey Tripp asks, what is the best non-Tesla EV to buy while we wait for the Model 3? Well, I did a video on this, the top 10 EVs under 50 grand that you can buy right now. And of course, I didn't put the Model 3 on there. I would probably go, if you're just, for the next, I don't know how long you're going to wait, maybe a year, I would probably go with a used Nissan Leaf. If the battery requirements and stuff are doable. Nissan is announcing, I think next week or this week, the new version of the Leaf, and older versions of the Leaf are going for incredibly cheap, and they're still really great vehicles. So I would go with one of those, depending on if it fits your requirements. Otherwise, probably a used Model S would be the best car, which is a comparable price to a Model 3 when it comes down to it. David asks, we all know what you like about your Model S. What don't you like about it? And I picked this question out because I'm in a specific case, and I will be talking about this in a later video this Friday, actually. I have a 2013 Model S, and so I do not have autopilot. That I don't like. But I don't drive a lot, so it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I guess it would be great when I do drive a lot, but anyways, point being, on a day-to-day basis, it really doesn't make a big difference. The next thing is I don't have the front parking sensors, which I really would like. And I have talked to them. I think it's about $5,000 to get them added, which doesn't include some of the body work, so it's maybe closer to $10,000. So that's a tough one. I would love that. And then the fact that I don't have folding mirrors is kind of bothers me because we have some pretty tight parking spaces out here in San Diego. So those are probably the three things I don't like about it. So if you were to say, okay, well, what if you had a newer one? What wouldn't you like? Slacker radio. And I feel bad saying that because I have friends that work at Slacker, which is based here in San Diego. But whatever the thing is inside of the radio feature, which auto plays other songs based on whatever artist you chose, is really bad. That matching algorithm is really bad. And so it plays just really bad songs that you don't want to listen to. And at the same time, it's probably a thing that has to do with their licensing agreement. So I'm not a fan of Slacker, which I know is something that a lot of other people, and some people came back and said, oh, I love it. Hey, good for you. But yeah, there's that. That's probably the biggest thing that all Teslas currently in the US anyways have to deal with. Burton asks, has there been any feedback from the initial group of owners of the Model 3? Lack of secondary gauges, comfort, real-world drivability. There have been, and there are a few investors in Tesla. What's the guy's name? Steve, I want to say Jarvis. And yeah, there's a few folks on Twitter. If you look up the Tesla kind of board members, they all have them, and they've been posting videos and little things like that. So I would go follow them, as well as somebody just posted a ride from inside of one with one of these guys, and so you can kind of hear it. Now, they're not coming out and having like YouTube channels like I will once I get my Model 3 and those things, but there is some footage out there. So there you go. Michael asked, Tesla recently dropped the prices of their Model S significantly, or their models significantly. Are we expecting to see a similar thing with the Model 3 in the next 2 years, and could that compensate a lower tax credit? No and no. I'm going to move on from that one. Bob asks, my brother signed up for the Model 3 on the first day the Tesla was taking reservations. I signed up for the Model 3 just a month ago. My brother does not want to purchase a Model 3 anymore. Can I take his reservation spot? You should be able to have him still purchase it, but then register it in your name. I got a couple emails from other people that had a similar situation where, like, their dad bought one, got a reservation, then they got a reservation. Their dad doesn't want it anymore, and so they registered in their name. So that should be possible. I would contact Tesla or have your brother contact Tesla and clarify at the time that they get invited to make their reservation or to configure their Model 3. Ken asks, how are Tesla owners in Houston coping with the aftermath of the hurricane? So first off, yeah, I hope you should go donate to the Houston thing. It's a major problem, major disaster here. I actually was born right outside of Houston, but I don't have any family there anymore. But it is pretty surreal seeing all the stuff that's going on. So yeah, so that's a thing. Like, whatever support you can give to them, and I've given some support as well. So please go do that. But for this, I did want to show an absolutely insane photo, which I will show you here. That's not the insane photo. It's this one. This is a Tesla in a flood bag, which apparently is a thing, floating inside of someone's garage. So yeah, I'm hoping that people that have Teslas in Houston got this or left town and didn't have any issues, because that could be a serious problem if the car, if the battery or any issues like that messed up that connection, because that could be a real problem. So yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you and say, please donate to whatever charity you like to help with the Houston thing. Roland asks, is there a fee for the over-the-air updates, or are they free? They are free, with the exception of any services you're adding, like autopilot or something like that. But just having over-the-air updates is included in all Teslas. Thanos asks, How do you think Tesla will populate their high-def maps and autopilot data in countries where there is yet no official Tesla presence? For example, Greece. There's still a bunch of us with Model 3 reservations here. Do you think they would give us a max autopilot in order to gather most data for them by driving around? So I think what's happening here, and I'm actually interviewing somebody who has a PhD in computer vision, which is amazing that even exists. The car will, as you drive around, it will collect all of that data and send it to Tesla for training their models, which will then be help upgrade the system down the road. So I don't think that they're going to give you any free discounts or anything like that. I think it's just going to happen automatically, and that's part of the service agreement. So I think they will be populating it from people driving around, but that's going to happen no matter what, and I don't think they're going to give you any discount. Thanks for watching, by the way, from Greece. I have some family that just went there, and they had nothing but great things to say about it. And yeah, they're one of the places I would love to go. Bill asks, any chance the bioweapons grade air system will be available on the Model 3? I don't know the answer to that. I believe I haven't heard anything about that. I would check with Trevor from Model 3 Owners Club because he is definitely the one that is the most knowledgeable about these kind of things. But I don't recall seeing that on the press kit for the Model 3. Steve asks, have you seen a formal Tesla announcement on Twitter or elsewhere saying the Model 3 will get the same annual free ratio of supercharging as the S and the X? I have not, and actually this is a big question because the way that if you're unfamiliar, in November I think it was, Tesla put out a thing saying all new Teslas sold or delivered after January 15th of 2017 would not get free supercharging anymore. They would get 400 kilowatt hours for free, which translates to about 1,000 miles in the U.S. And beyond that, you'd have a pay per use. But the Model 3 is listed as pay per use. It doesn't say that there's any free amount of supercharging. And so I'm going to go with no, that it's not going to get it. However, the old statement just said all Teslas. So it didn't clarify S, X, or 3. So we'll see. But currently right now, it appears that they will not get it. We'll find out more soon. Walt asks, what is the difference in charging miles per hour between the 240 volt and wall plug? 240 volt wall plug and the Tesla wall connector, or is there? Yes, there is, and let's take a look because I pulled this up and I wanted to share it with you. So here on, and what's this link? Tesla.com/charge-at-home, charge at home. They have them here. So on the left is the mobile connector that you get for free with the car. And that's what I have. And it comes, usually you get a NEMA 1450 outlet installed, but they do have adapters for other types of chargers and things like that. And so that gives you 29 miles of range per hour with the included charging equipment. And actually, depending on which battery you get for a Model 3, it can change how fast that charge happens. But then there's the wall connector, which gives you almost double that. It's 52 miles of range per hour and is the fastest way to charge at home. I would love one of these. I think they're around $500, but I may have to rerun some of my lines. And so, yeah, I'm not super in love with that. So it's $500. You can get a 24-foot cable. Wow, that's kind of cool. And so I don't know if I'll get one, but this will definitely charge it almost twice as fast. The question I have is, does that matter? I mean, on most people, after you go to your normal commute to work and back or whatever, you come home, and what you're going to get is maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours of time it takes to fully charge your car again from that day's commute. So depending on, I guess, how long you're going to be at home, even if it were 4 times that and it took 8 hours, I mean, for most people that would still be fine. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessary. It's like, kind of a luxury item, I would say. It looks cooler. Yes, it does charge it, so it is, functionally better, but at the same time, is it worth the added cost? I don't know. I haven't pulled the trigger on it because to me, it clearly hasn't really been worth it yet. Thanks for the question. Barbara asks, knowing Tesla's history, how reliable is their dates for delivery they are showing on their website? So I like that you asked this because to date, I mean, up to the Model 3, they've been really bad about delivering things on time. However, we've already seen a number of Model 3s that were delivered in July as promised. And there are people that are employees, apparently, that are being invited to get their Model 3s by the end of September. So things are happening. I think that because they learned so many lessons about how poor of a job they did with the delivery of the Model X, that the Model 3 is happening on time, and I feel good about those estimates. So I think they're getting better at it, but you're totally right to be skeptical of it based on the history there. Okay, and that is all of the questions I had for today. I appreciate you all joining me. Don't forget that this Wednesday I also will have another video, which is actually a huge one, which is going to help you figure out your monthly cost of owning a Model 3, charging, insurance, everything. So you can really use that to plan your budget around. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday. Get on the email list at teslanomics.co if you're not already. And other than that, I will see you guys back here next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.